if you're trying to protect your identity from the mob or whatever, consider that we're recording, so you could either change your name or use somebody else's name or whatever. Okay. Um, this is week number 3. Week number 2 is posted in Canvas. If you go to Canvas Unit 11, review number 1 did not get recorded, but review number 2 is recorded and linked. So what we did last week, you can go to Unit 11 in your Canvas course and you can find last week. This will be week number 3. Today is April 28th. So we're going to talk about these steps today. Um, my hope is by now, if you've been with us for 2 weeks, that you've gathered all your notes, checked all the study guides, looked through your book, talked to people in Miss Khan's class, Googled around on the internet, and you filled in as much as possible in your notes. Anything you can add on paper is pretty close to adding it to your existing knowledge. The process of putting it on paper is about as close as we can get to like learning it, like putting it into your brain. Whatever you've gathered into your notes, you'll be flipping through right before the exam, so you'll remind yourself of that information right before the exam. If you've been tuned out or you're just joining us for the first time or whatever, um, what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks is looking through study guides and unit notes. We've looked for things you've missed in the College Board's course description. You could just randomly stab into the internet and look for recent environmental topics or biggest environmental news or environmental science stories 2024. Um, Anything you can add to your notes is good for you. If you're playing catch up, you should be doing that on the side. But most of the students who are here today have been here the last couple weeks. So for most of you, we're moving on. For most of you, you're on your first or second multiple choice test. It doesn't matter where you get it. The review exams that are available in study guides are kind of mediocre. But if you go to Unit 11, you can see some multiple choice exams here. If you go to AP Central, they have a few multiple choice exams or just a few questions like in topic by topic. In AP Central, you should do your best to do one or two practice multiple choice today, tomorrow, and then maybe one or two Wednesday, Thursday. For the next 3 days, and then including the rest of tonight, any multiple choice exam you can take is good. One detail I would add is it's better for you to take it in a setting that's like the AP test. What I mean is, for your practice multiple choice, no headphones, no music, no homies around, no coffee shop, no notes. For your practice multiple choice, I recommend you clear a desk, close the door, turn off the music, set a timer on a watch or whatever, and have 90 minutes for one full multiple choice exam. They used to be 100 questions. Do all 100 in 90 minutes. In 2 weeks, it'll be 80 questions, but it's the same amount of mental work for 80 as it used to be for 100 because your exam in 2 weeks has a little more reading. So, anyway, do a full exam in 90 minutes. Answer the questions like on a Scantron or on a separate sheet of paper, just like question 11B, question 12C. Keep all those answers After the 90 minutes, go back through and figure out which ones you got wrong. And don't be distracted by your score. You're just looking for information to beef up your notes. That'll take you through Thursday. Oh, sorry, through Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is. Soon, after you're done with all this multiple choice BS, I'd like you to spend one full day identifying all the chemistry in the class. Now, for those of you who took my course in the fall, you'll remember Unit 8 had kind of a lot of chemistry. There was some chemistry in ecology and a little bit in the middle. For everybody who's taking it now, I was hoping that you did Unit 8 over spring break. So you can just pull out the chemistry from your homework from spring break. Another source for chemistry, if you're trying to piece it together, is in Unit 11, my main review packet. On the screen I'm sharing, it'll take a second to load because I'm in a cave, in a bunker. But eventually the screen will load and I can show you that in the main review packet, there's like 2 pages of chemistry. I think it's number 6 or 7 in that packet. Sorry, that's so slow. But your goal, here it comes. Your goal will be to review all chemistry. It helps if you have somebody you can study with. Like if you have this, what do you get? Or like what's photosynthesis, what's cellular respiration, or what are the steps in the nitrogen cycle? Um, let me see if I can show you the chemistry section. Yeah, page 9 has like some basic chemistry stuff. It has the nuclear energy stuff, and then it's got air pollution, smog, um, ozone formation, and ozone destruction. Um, I'd like you to spend one day just trying to piece together all the chemistry. And you could flip through all your notes and use little post-its. You could flip through all your notes and use a single colored highlighter. Or you could flip through your notes and any other sources and try to just make a single sheet of paper where you write out the chemistry. Look through my review guide, do all the chemistry, try to get it all into one place. If you haven't done Unit 8 yet, try to take all the chemistry that you did already do, like in ecology and whatever, and energy, and get ready. If you have not yet done Unit 8, we'll be doing it right before the AP exam, but as much as you can clump together now will be helpful to you because that's a single sheet of paper that you can review probably on the morning of the exam. It's one of the last things that should be passing through your brain right before you walk into the test. Because for most of us, chemistry is not super intuitive. So for most of us, that's one of the things that we have to like cram. So try to put all the chemistry together right now. Then this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday before our next review, I'd like you to start doing free response questions. And I want to be really specific about how you should do free response questions. The goal is not a realistic environment like multiple choice, not a timer. You're not going to compare against the answer. You're not going to add new information into your notes. The reason you're looking for the free response questions is to do everything between seeing the question and answering the question. What I mean is, in between those 2 steps, you should skim the question and pick out the action words and underline the nouns. Like I need to describe nuclear power plant, or I need to explain control rod. I want you to pick apart the questions. It should take you way under a minute per question. Active reading, like you're supposed to do in English when you hold a pencil while you're reading Shakespeare. And if you hear something that you didn't know, you're supposed to annotate your text. I want you to annotate free response questions. And the next thing I want you to do is for every single question, I want you to take like 1, 2 minutes and just outline an answer, not sentences. Don't write things out. It's a waste of our time now. Just go through the process of picking apart the question and outlining an answer. It should take you 2, 3 minutes for a full 10-point question. And you have like 22.5 minutes per question. So if you do the outlining, even if it takes you 4 or 5, it should not take you the rest of the time to make those into sentences. The biggest, I mean, I guess I'll explain since we have a minute here. The biggest problem with free response questions is one half of your brain has all the info, the other half of your brain does the writing. So it'll ask you 10 points about what you had for breakfast. And you'll start to tell a story, but the part that's looking through your memory has stopped working when you start to write. So once you start with, I got out of the shower and then I had a fight with my brother, you'll like start going into this like narrative part of your brain and you're just kind of babbling and storytelling and putting words on paper and you're flowing. So it feels like you're doing something good and like, here we go, here we go, here we go. But you're not actually answering the question, you're just going with it. And the more nervous you are, the more therapeutic it is. So it feels better, and kids who get nervous usually do really badly because they just start to babble and they don't answer the 10 bullets that were the 10 points of the question. You've seen the answer keys in my exam. You understand that it's like things you have to accomplish for 1 point each. To fight that natural impulse that we all experience, I need you to start outlining answers. So, what you're going to practice next weekend is looking at the question, circle the action words, underline the nouns, and then just outline like what are the words you would use. Don't bother to link them into sentences. Just do like a brain dump. And that's a habit I'd like you to practice. In Unit 11, I have somewhere in here, there it is, every FRQ. It's number 4 in the first list. Or you can just Google released FRQ AP Environmental Science, and I think you'll get this page that has 2024, all the questions, 2023, all the questions, 2022, all the questions, all the way down to like 1999. And if you really want 1998, I actually have 1998 in here. Um, it's a lot of questions. I honestly think you don't need to go further back than about 2017 because they changed the exam, so the format is different. It doesn't really matter what you know. Like, it kind of matters, but like they're not going to ask the same questions again. So let's pretend that in 2024 they asked you a question about dams and you're like, oh crap, I never learned this in apes. It kind of matters that you didn't learn about dams, but not that much because they're not going to ask that same question again. So you don't need to um, grade your answers. Like if you're curious about the content and you've got the time, go ahead. I don't care. But the thing that I really want you to practice in the FRQs is pick apart and outline. If you do these multiple choice in the next couple days, identify all the chemistry and start to practice the FRQs, you're in really good shape. When I see you a week from today, you'll have almost everything in one place. You'll have a little math practice. You'll have a little bit of experimental design practice. And then you'll just kind of start to push through your notes. On that final weekend, you're really just going through the notes. And if you know something, you cross it off. And if you don't know it, you leave it for the next lap. We call that laps. Um, so we got a plan for next week, and we have a plan for the week after that. And then you take your stupid test. Um, I want to remind you that there's this thing on YouTube where oh God, I suck at tech, sorry. There's a thing on YouTube where they talk about all of the questions. Oh God, what have I done? Um, I'll try to put that link in the chat. It is kind of interesting. Like you can kind of zone out and like geniuses talk. So you're like, oh, this is interesting. I'm listening to geniuses. And at some point, like, I don't know, it can be too much babble and not very helpful. Um, but I'll give you a thing that you might find interesting. You can glean some good information from this. You should be able to copy this from the chat now. I gave you this last week as well, so some of you already have it. But it's like a playlist on YouTube where the College Board discusses their questions and like, you know, kind of interesting, kind of helpful if you're looking for something different than what I said. Um, I think this plan is probably the best for building knowledge, but whatever. I understand if you don't like it. Maybe try that thing on YouTube too. Um, I'm available for questions. My wife tells me that the Warriors and the Rockets game was kind of interesting, so I might go do some dishes and then watch some basketball. Unless you got questions for me. Okay, fine. It's good to not see anybody. This way I can forget what you look like. It's therapeutic for me to not remember your faces. Maybe I'll see you later. Goodbye, children. The end. Next week. See you here again. Um,
Thank you.
Lena, let me think here. You're welcome, Kana. Um, Lena, I would do the chemistry separate. Um, However, you can group the chemistry. The goal is for you to be able to review it separately later. Um, all of the chemistry content is being processed kind of in a separate part of your brain from the other information, so you might as well review it separately. Um, Miranda, it kind of depends. I think that the practice books are like a good source for new information. So, like, if YouTube didn't have anything new and Miss Khan students didn't have anything new, um, you could flip through a review book and like pick out stuff you didn't know and then transfer that into your notes. It's got to be in your notes to be in your brain. Your notes are a secondary memory map for the part of your brain that looks through the rest of the memories. But Miranda, I don't know, man. A lot of those review guides will have like a bunch of BS. So finding a good review book is probably a bigger challenge than finding other sources of information, I would recommend more, if you have the time, the YouTube uh playlist from the College Board, because at least you know that it's topics the College Board cares about. AP review books are often written by some random guy that my brother used to write those, and he'd spend like 45 minutes to assemble like 200 pages of material on content he didn't even know about. Like, they're not always relevant. Um, Lena. Oh, Lena, A, doing them on the same day is probably helpful. B, however you organize them, you'll want to be able to look at the chemistry right before the exam. So, Lena, you could do all the chemistry on one sheet of paper that you'll review later, or you could find all the chemistry in Unit 2 and Unit 4 and Unit 7, and then use little post-its or like the pink colored highlighter. As long as you can find it all later, it probably doesn't matter too much. I'm available if anybody has other questions. You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna go watch basketball. Goodbye, nerds.